CDC Director lasted 29 days. Since my removal, several explanations have been offered: that I told the Secretary I would resign, that I was not aligned with the administration priorities, or that I was untrustworthy. None of those reflect what actually happened.
Former CDC Head Director Susan Monarez giving her side of the story before the Senate Help Committee just weeks after she was ousted from the agency over a reported dispute with Secretary Kennedy about vaccines.
Now, Dr. Monarez went on to describe what she says led her to leaving the agency. Take a listen.
On the morning of August 25th, Secretary Kennedy demanded two things of me that were inconsistent with my oath of office and the ethics required of a public official. He directed me to commit in advance to approving every ACIP recommendation, regardless of the scientific evidence. He also directed me to dismiss career officials responsible for vaccine policy without cause. He said if I was unwilling to do both, I should resign.
Just 2 days after that happened, HHS announced that Monarez would be removed from her post. When asked about the effects of the vaccine skepticism under Secretary Kennedy, Monarez said she had serious concerns.
I believe preventable diseases will return, and I believe that we will have our children harmed for things that we know they do not need to be harmed by: polio, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough. I worry about the ramifications for those children in illness and in death. I worry about our school systems. I worry about our medical institutions having to take care of sick kids that could have been prevented by effective and safe vaccines. I worry about the future of trust in public health.
But Senator Rand Paul pushed back, going toe-to-toe with Dr. Monarez over the recommendations for the COVID and hepatitis B vaccine in infants, calling her out for what he says was her refusal to fire CDC employees who were staunchly opposed to any changes to the vaccine schedule. Take a listen to the exchange.
What is the medical reason for giving a hepatitis B vaccine to a newborn? See, everybody's like blithely going along. We can't change the childhood. You're somehow terrible if you want to change the childhood. We should be discussing what is the childhood vaccine schedule. The burden is upon you and the people you wouldn't fire to prove to us that we need to give our 6-month-old a COVID vaccine and that we need to give our 1-day-old a hepatitis B vaccine.
I actually agree with you, and I was open to the science. I just would not pre-commit to approving all the ACIP recommendations without the science.
Untrue.
That's interesting that she says she agrees with him on that point, as do I, unsurprisingly. This has become a topic of conversation, I know, among a lot of conservative women, or actually MAHA mothers, that movement, about the hepatitis B vaccine in particular, which is often given to one.
Yeah, I had to go through the whole vaccine thing with my 4-year-old.
You probably know more about it than I do, but the question is, do otherwise healthy mothers who are not engaged in the kind of risky behavior that is a cause of hepatitis B, if you don't meet those criteria, why would you necessarily need to give your kid this vaccine? And it was actually nice to hear her say she thinks that's perfectly fine.
And she just said that she doesn't want to go off ideology and she doesn't want to pre-commit to anything that maybe they've discussed, because new research always comes out and vaccine schedules change and things change based on guidance and science and deep research. And so I think that's fair for somebody to say. The most alarming part of this whole entire thing was the fact that she is sitting up there saying one story about why she was let go. RFK is calling her a liar when he's pressed out about it at his hearing. And so there's just two conflating issues. And then he's asking her a question and she's saying, yeah, I agree with you. It's really simple to me to go over the facts and the information from scientists. And so why is that not the baseline? Because what's happening is, since RFK took this office, it's created just chaos and confusion about where the CDC is headed and if we should trust the CDC. And like you said, there are mothers like myself and other mothers who don't have a political foot or, in this race.
Right.
They're just trying to figure out the best way to keep their kids protected when they go to school, prior to them going to school, when they're 1 month old. Like, this is all mothers and families, parents, dads too, on the same page that are really trying to protect children. But then moreover, there's people with longer family histories that are still alive, like grandparents they're trying to protect, school teachers that want to take into consideration CDC's recommendation. But the way that RFK has created an environment of chaos, I think it's making most people who already were skeptical of the CDC, rightfully so because of COVID, now have complete lack of trust in it and not even know who to look to for information.
Yeah, I was a little bit dismayed listening to the hearing. It seemed like, while I'm very supportive of a lot of what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to accomplish, and I'm very supportive of Senator Rand Paul, it sounded like this person was one of the better people you could get in the CDC who was very open to the agenda and to trying different things. She just didn't want to vow to do it a certain way without consulting a variety of, so that seemed okay to me. So I think it's almost I found myself kind of liking her, listening to her. She was not like that stereotype of the close-minded public health bureaucrat person who is just doing everything the experts say without any consideration or discussion. So I'm a little bit dismayed that she's out, to be honest.
She did have like a demeanor that, it seemed as you're watching it as the adult in the room.
Right.
And that's what I think people were looking for.
She said she was open to that perfectly healthy kids don't need the COVID vaccine, which is exactly that is the main thing I was trying to get accomplished from the CDC. Why is it, as a matter of routine, being given out to people without any consideration who are otherwise perfectly healthy? That's not something that is in keeping even with our scientific understanding. And she said she agreed. So that sounded like the best case scenario. And so I'm a little...
And another issue that a lot of people are having is the fact that, like she said, she was in that position for 29 days, and all of the time and energy and money that's wasted on trying to confirm somebody into a position like that, somebody that RFK championed to change his mind, that does not lead people to believe that you are a confident, stable leader when you argue to have somebody in a position and then take them out a month later. It seems knee-jerk reaction, like chaotic, and so, these are organizations that you want to have somebody level-headed, prepared for the authority you're giving them to lead. And so she's up there kind of still confused about it. Like, I'm not going to just say carte blanche on whatever you guys would like to do. I'm going to say yes in advance, which you wouldn't expect anybody who understands science to do, because science always changes. And part of this argument about why we're talking about what vaccines kids should have is because the science and information is changing and more accessible and developing. And so we're like, oh, maybe kids don't need this. Hepatitis is not as, rampant as it used to be. And, this is just, to me, not the path we want to go down as a country, to not understand what the vaccine schedule should be for our kids.
I want open-mindedness, not narrow-mindedness in either direction.
Right.
That's what I want. Next up, the clock is ticking. Republicans and Democrats are preparing for a government shutdown, but who will be to blame for the funding stop? We'll talk about it right after the break.